I know you've done a lot of reporting on this fight, and you have done a great job in outlining who the players are for the referendum, against it. And there's some really big names that are involved, not just in Virginia, but nationally. There's a group that's linked to Peter Thiel, a tech billionaire. I know House Speaker Mike Johnson has been in campaigning. Talk with us a little bit, walk us through who are the big hitters on the pro side and the anti side, and what kind of impact is that having?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I guess the thought process is you want to bring in people who are going to get, people excited, big star power. I mean, I think one of the biggest endorsements the Yes side got was this video message from former President Barack Obama, urging people to vote. His, Attorney General Eric Holder visited Virginia. Virginia's been visited by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who actually attended Spanberger's inauguration back in January, before this when this was bubbling up. And Spanberger, she has been, she put out a video message about it. And so, yeah, and then on the no side, like you mentioned, Eric Cantor, Youngkin, former Republican Governor Youngkin, was stumping for it. Former Attorney General Jason Miyares has been a pretty consistently stumping for the no vote. And as you mentioned, this group that was linked to Peter Thiel has been pouring money into it. So, pretty good. I mean, Trump, actually, I haven't seen much of what Trump has said about it. I mean, he was in Charlottesville the other day, so I have to imagine I didn't see what he said about it, though. Yeah.
Is it a possible technique for Republicans to try and keep Trump out of this because he's such a polarizing figure?
I would think so. I mean, he hasn't been, the messaging around the no campaign has not been talking about Trump, right? Mm-hmm. And the yes campaign has been much more about how this is, when you ask, the first day of early voting, I was in Alexandria, completely by chance, and this black SUV pulled up, and out steps Mark Warner to vote early on the first day of early voting, which is I was just really lucky to be there. And I asked him, why'd you vote yes? And he said something that, Democrats have said consistently, is just that everyone wants to know how they can push back against Trump. This is how, right? This is your way. This is your tangible way to show up and feel like you did something. Mm-hmm. So certainly Trump is, they're trying to make this about Trump, and Republicans are just trying to kind of quarantine that and just be nope, this is about Virginia. This is about fairness. This is an unfair power grab from Democrats, but while also supporting gerrymandering that's happening in, Indiana and, mm-hmm. or, North Carolina. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about former Governor Glenn Youngkin. You have such an unusual term limit system in Virginia where governors are one and done for their terms, which I believe you're the only state in the country that does that. So you've had some prominent governors before, but it's hard for them because they can't prove themselves for at least a couple terms, governors can, even in term limited states like Michigan or California. I know there was a lot of talk about Youngkin's future, especially after Biden won the presidency. And there seemed to be some hope from some people on the Republican side that Trump may not run again, which of course was proven entirely incorrect. But Glenn Youngkin was considered one of those bright lights and hopes for the party for the future. He was younger. He was able to win some suburban voters. He initially seemed to have some popularity, but now he's out of the governor's office. Virginia has 2 Democratic senators, for instance. Where would he go from here for his political future if that's a road he wanted to take?
Yeah, I mean, he told Sean Hannity, I think the other day or week, that he has, quote, more to give. So I think,
more vests to wear, I guess.
Yes, more basketballs to bounce and shoot. but yeah, I think he's certainly, interested in a future political career. I think, you know, Virginia governors, I think, tend to go on to become senators, or they try to at least. So he could be, a senator, or, 2028, he could be positioning himself to try to be president. So we'll just have to see. I do think we'll see him again in some capacity, though.
I know that one of the mailers against the referendum attracted a lot of attention. I think the group was called Democracy and Justice PAC, and there was a former Republican delegate behind it. And it featured some pretty controversial imagery, reminiscent of, some civil rights protests, and really talking about race issues. Can you walk us through that, and what's been the impact of that kind of negative campaigning?
Yeah, that's been really controversial here. There's been, a half a dozen different kinds of these mailers.
Okay.
Just, you know, trying to say that voting yes for this redistricting is akin to Jim Crow, and
Mhm.
in the way that it would dilute the voices of Black voters. And I think the Virginia NAACP has come out, very forcefully against this kind of language. I mean, the No campaign is using the imagery of Martin Luther King Jr. And I don't think any political campaign should just be willy nilly with his imagery. I think, and so, especially not to suggest that, in a kind of a twisted way, to suggest that, somehow this is going to dilute the power of Black voters. They've done things like with mailers quoting Obama and Spanberger out of context about gerrymandering.
Mm.
And so I think there has been a backlash, certainly amongst civil rights groups and, Democratic leaders, saying this is outrageous, and just like, what does that say about you and what you think about the people you're trying to appeal to if you're lying to them?
Mhm.
I think there arguably has been. I talked to one voter who, she told me when she got a text with Obama's picture from this group and him talking about how gerrymandering's bad, and then she figured out that it was a deception tactic, it made her more motivated to vote yes. And I think that's the risk when you do something like this, is like you're insulting people's intelligence.
Mhm.
And if you have to lie about your theory of the case, then it can't be a very strong theory of the case.